When people see my calendar, a lot of them ask, why do you do this? Why can't you just be spontaneous and adventurous and go with the flow? First of all, I am literally incapable of being chill and going with the flow. Secondly though, I do have 3 actual good reasons for why you should do calendar blocking. Even if you're a more fun and easygoing person than I am, I think everyone can benefit from calendar blocking. Reason number 1 is that it reduces decision fatigue. So decision fatigue is when you have to make so many decisions throughout the day, big ones, little ones, that you end up exhausted and you just can't make good decisions anymore. So these might include decisions like what to wear and what to have for breakfast and which project proposal to go with at work. But choosing how to spend our time is also a decision, and we are constantly doing that throughout the day. What should I do now? Should I study? Should I watch TV? Should I get a head start on this essay, or should I do that after dinner? What time should I have dinner? You end up going back and forth and debating with yourself and making compromises, and it's just a big waste of energy. You know how they say that you shouldn't do your grocery shopping when you're hungry because then you'll be more tempted to buy junk food? I believe that you also shouldn't make decisions about how to spend your time in the moment because that's when the temptation for wasting time is the highest. So instead of making those decisions moment by moment, if you just set aside like an hour at the start of the week to make all of those decisions in one batch, you'll end up going through the week mostly on autopilot. And I mean autopilot in a good way. Like, you're still living in the present moment and aware, but you're not stressing out all the time about what you should be doing at every hour. Reason number 2 is that you'll work more efficiently. So we covered decision fatigue. Now I'm gonna throw another little piece of productivity lingo into the mix, something called Parkinson's Law. So Parkinson's Law states that work expands to fill the time allotted to it. Basically, if you come home from class and you have your entire evening free and just this little homework assignment that you need to get done, it might end up taking the entire evening because there's no time crunch, there's nothing pressuring you to get it done fast. So you might keep getting distracted by your phone, you might spend an hour looking through a thesaurus to find the perfect synonym, just wasting time. Whereas if you tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna give myself an hour to finish this based on similar assignments taking me about an hour in the past, you will work more efficiently to meet that self-imposed deadline. So if you've calendar blocked your entire day or maybe even your entire week, basically what you've done is you've given yourself a deadline for every task. So you'll be more ruthless about eliminating distractions, you won't worry as much about little unimportant details, and you'll just sail along smoothly through all of your tasks. This is how a ship sails. And it's okay if the task actually does take you longer than planned. It's not the end of the world. That's why we can always make adjustments to the calendar. That's why we leave buffer time in the calendar. But at the end of the day, having a deadline that you need to adjust is better than having no deadline at all. And reason number 3, calendar blocking helps you make time for stuff that would otherwise get ignored. So when I say that calendar blocking helps you make better decisions about how to spend your time, I don't mean that making a better decision equals choosing to work all the time. With calendar blocking, we're not only making time for work, we're making time for all the things we need as human beings, like rest and play and socialization. When things get really, really busy, unless I put time on my calendar to spend time with my friends, to relax and watch TV and turn my brain off once in a while, that stuff is probably not gonna happen because other things are gonna get prioritized above taking care of myself. Now you might ask, okay, but what about fun and spontaneity and whatever? And this is a really important point to drive home, so pay attention. I don't think calendar blocking eliminates all fun and spontaneity from your life. I think it actually helps you to be more fun and spontaneous in the areas of your life where that matters. Like, I don't want to be spontaneous about homework. I want that part of my life to be fully planned out. But let's say a friend unexpectedly invites you to have breakfast one morning, but that morning you were already planning to clean your apartment for 2 hours. It's already on your calendar. Calendar blocking doesn't mean that you have to decline every invitation because you already booked out your entire week, so sorry, I have no time to have breakfast with you. On the contrary, when your calendar is blocked out, you can easily be like, okay, let me move some blocks around, schedule that breakfast, and then look at this big picture overview of my week to decide what is not so important and can be moved to the next week so that I can still go to this breakfast and get my cleaning done and not be stressed out about not completing my responsibilities. Okay, so now that I've made my case, I've presented my argument for calendar blocking, let me show you how I apply this to my life. So I am a full-time college student, I make these YouTube videos, and I also do some extracurricular things. So that is what is on my figurative plate right now. So I like to use iCal for time blocking, but later in the video I will tell you about another option that you can use. I usually do this process on Sunday mornings. I will go to a coffee shop, order myself a little café cortado, make sure that I'm relaxed and not stressed or thinking about other things, and then I start with making a brain dump. So a brain dump just means that you write down everything that is on your mind, anything that you might need to or want to do that week. And I facilitate this process with something called a trigger list. So this is a term that I borrowed from the Getting Things Done system. Shout out to David Allen for coming up with this. This is not my idea, but it is just a list of responsibilities that you have that is supposed to remind you of any pending to-dos that you might have. So I created this list for myself that is personalized to my responsibilities, but obviously you should make your own. And then I'll look through this list item by item and see, for example, newsletter writing. Yes, I have to write a newsletter that goes out next Monday. Around the house, I have to replace a light bulb in the kitchen hood, so I have to find out what kind of light bulb it is, buy it, and then install it. There you go, that's already 3 tasks that were just floating around inside my head and probably never would have gotten done had I not written them down. So once that's done and I have this really long and overwhelming list, I take a look at what events I have on my calendar for the next week. So these are things that I have to attend at a specific time, like classes, meetings, appointments, etc. And these are the things that I'm gonna have to work around as I'm doing my calendar blocking. I like to have my events separated by category, so I've got my classes in blue. This is synced to my class calendar in Blackboard. Personal events in green, work and YouTube stuff in yellow, and then music club events in dark green. And then just a few more calendars for extra things like birthdays or when I need to do monthly cleaning tasks, little reminders like that. The magic happens here in the purple calendar. This is called the daily schedule. And this is where I create the calendar blocks to plan out my day. I've talked about big rocks on my channel before, so I won't spend too much time on this analogy. So if you think about your big important tasks, the ones that you need to focus on for a few hours as big rocks, and then your smaller tasks as pebbles, and then the tiny little to-dos that fill up your day as sand, and you think of your day or your week as a big glass jar. There's a lot of setup to this analogy, but trust me, it's worth it. If you start filling the jar with the sand, and then you go to the pebbles, and then you go to the rocks are not gonna fit in the end. But if you go the other way, and you start with the big rocks, and then the pebbles, and then the sand, the pebbles are gonna fill in the space between the rocks, and then the sand is gonna fill up all the tiny little cracks that are left. So when I start scheduling, I'm looking for those big rocks in my brain dump. What are the big homework assignments? Do I have to edit a video, write a video script? All of those are gonna take a long time, and I need to get that on the calendar first. Otherwise, they're never gonna happen. I also know that I prefer to do schoolwork in the morning, especially like really quiet, chill things like doing readings for class, so I'll schedule those out first thing after breakfast. I know that I need hours of uninterrupted time for video editing, but it's not very cognitively demanding, so I usually put that in the evening. And then I look at, the basic tasks of living. I think about when am I gonna have lunch, which days do I need to pack a lunch to bring to school, when am I gonna cook, when am I gonna shop for groceries. I think calendar blocking is especially helpful for like getting your errands done efficiently, because then you can really look at your week and think about, okay, when is the best time to complete these tasks? Of course, it's impossible to follow the schedule perfectly over the course of the week because things are gonna change. That's why you have to stay flexible. So when you're doing your plan, make sure that you leave some buffer time for those unforeseen circumstances. Also, don't be afraid throughout the week to go back into your calendar and edit things. I personally like to set aside some time on Wednesday for like a midweek check-in. I just like to review how the first half of the week went and then make sure that my plan for the second half of the week is solid. So as I said, I like to do my calendar blocking in iCal. Yes, it's a little bit like low-tech and redundant to have my to-do list here in one place and then my calendar blocking in iCal, but it works for me. But if you want an all-in-one solution where you can see all of your tasks side by side with your calendar and then literally just drag and drop them to schedule them, you can use an app like Akiflow. So Akiflow is the sponsor of today's video. It is a time blocking platform that basically does it all. So I've been experimenting with it to show you how you might use it for a weekly time blocking process. So when I opened up Akiflow this week, I could see my calendar events already integrated right into it. So then I took my trigger list and I just brain dumped all of my tasks that I had into the inbox view, organizing them by label, and then simply dragged and dropped them to plan out my week. Akiflow also integrates with a ton of apps that you might already be using. So for me, I can import tasks from Superhuman, which is what I use for emails, and my Notion content calendar. And finally, you know I love a good morning routine, so I really like this daily planning ritual feature that guides you through reviewing the previous day's tasks and then planning out what you need to do for the day ahead. So if you want to try out a free trial of Akiflow, the link is in the description. And I know this looks a little overwhelming, but like this is everything that I have to do this week. And now I don't have to worry about remembering it all. I don't have to keep track of it in my head. I can just relax and know that I have a plan in place and everything is gonna be okay. And that is how I would like to end this video. Everything is gonna be okay. So yeah, happy beginning of the holiday season and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.